More drama in Dalton tonight. Several trustees are calling on the mayor and another village trustee to resign.
Both are at the center of an investigation. NBC5's Regina Waldrop started working on this case 6 months ago. She joins us now with more on what she's learned. Regina.
Marion and Stefan, we obtained copies of complaints accusing Mayor Tiffany Henyard and an unnamed Dalton trustee of sexual harassment, retaliation, and discrimination. And the Department of Human Rights tells us it is investigating. At the center of it all, a trip they all took last year to Las Vegas and a sexual encounter one woman says was not consensual.
WGN Investigates has learned an employee of the village of Dalton accused a trustee of sexual misconduct while on a taxpayer-funded trip to Las Vegas. We've been reporting for months on controversies that have clouded Mayor Tiffany Henyard's administration of that small south suburb. The mayor, her security detail, and several of her allies went to Las Vegas last May to attend a conference to lure retail business to town. Now we've obtained a complaint filed with the Illinois Department of Human Rights in which one of Henyard's aides on that trip accuses a trustee of a sexual encounter after she blacked out and had been unable to provide consent. The woman says she later had been fired after reporting the incident to the mayor.
So in battle, Dalton dictator Tiffany Henyard accused of trying to silence a sexual assault survivor. So Tiffany A. Henyard is back in the news, and this time she's got a lot of stuff going on, from vetoing investigations to these sexual assault accusations. There's a lot. So we'll go through it in this video. So first, let's start with the money. So the Village of Dalton's trustees, essentially the city council, want to see the village financial statements. What's happening with the money?
Trustee Norwood says some trustees were locked out of the village's finances when they discovered in September that Dalton was $7 million in debt.
We're able to track receipts for spending, and then we shared it with the public. And once we started sharing it with the public, our access was denied.
The Board of Trustees has repeatedly asked for financial information that we feel is entitled and has been denied that information. So we feel that we need to get intervention from somebody that can force this kind of action.
This has been a stain on our community. It's no way that we should be locked out of a place where we pay taxes.
We're asking for credit card statements, we're asking for bank statements, and we're asking for information that help us, assist us as trustees to know how the money is being spent.
Now, as you can see from the document on the screen, the trustees are now in court suing Mayor Tiffany Henyard for access to the financial documents. Now, with the lawsuit filed, the trustees also passed an ordinance saying, hey, we demand that this mayor give us the documents. And on top of that, they also asked for local authorities and state and federal authorities to investigate the mayor because she's essentially hiding what's going on with the village's finances.
We can always expect for the administration to use a lot of smoke and mirrors.
Dalton trustee Brittany Norwood says she and a majority of her fellow village trustees will not stop in their fight to save the village. For the past several months, Norwood says certain trustees have been prevented from seeing Dalton's financial statements.
Calling for an investigation of Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
Which is why last month those trustees passed that resolution during a special meeting where Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard was not in attendance.
We feel that it's extremely important to have the authorities come in and force this administration to provide us with the information needed so that we can provide it to the residents regarding how the money is being spent.
So now, with all of this going on, one of the issues that also arose in the city of Dalton is that the mayor was going on these lavish trips to places like Las Vegas.
And then there are the trips to Las Vegas. Mayor Henyard and other top officials traveled to Sin City in May to attend a shopping center conference. It's unclear if it helped Dalton land any deals.
Don't have a clue. We're all in the dark. Not only are the residents in the dark, but the trustees are also in the dark as well.
I do not handle anything as relates to with credit cards. As you heard me speak today in my board meeting about, I do not handle that.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
You didn't go to Las Vegas? What is that?
No comment.
You don't know if you were in Las Vegas?
Of course I do.
Were you?
It's not paid by them.
Did you fly first class to Las Vegas?
Any other questions?
Actually, yes. The credit card records do shed some light on tax dollars spent at several restaurants near the Strip, including Cafe Hollywood and Hot and Juicy Crawfish.
All right, any other questions?
So you're not going to answer how taxpayer dollars are being spent? That seems odd.
I just answered it. What do you mean? I just answered your questions.
You said you wouldn't answer about Las Vegas.
You asked me a question and I responded. So any other questions you may have?
So Tiffany A. Henyard went to Las Vegas and had a good time. But you don't go to Las Vegas alone. She took members of her staff and 2 of the village trustees who are loyal to her. Now, on that trip to Las Vegas, one of her assistants says that she was assaulted in a non-consensual way by one of the trustees who also went on the trip. Here's the story.
We obtained copies of complaints accusing Mayor Tiffany Henyard and an unnamed Dalton trustee of sexual harassment, retaliation, and discrimination. And the Department of Human Rights tells us it is investigating. At the center of it all, a trip they all took last year to Las Vegas and a sexual encounter one woman says was not consensual. There are 6 elected trustees on the Dalton Village Board. Some of them joined Mayor Tiffany Henyard last May on an economic development trip to Las Vegas. It was on that trip that the mayor's now former assistant claims she was the victim of an unwanted sexual encounter carried out by an unnamed Dalton trustee. She filed this complaint with the Department of Human Rights. According to the woman's complaint, after having dinner with the unnamed trustee, she started to feel disoriented. Then she blacked out. The next morning, she woke up in the trustee's hotel room with no memory of how she got there, experiencing physical discomfort. Officer Byron Miles, who was part of Mayor Henyard's security detail at the time, also filed a complaint with the Human Rights Department. He also went on that trip to Vegas and says in his complaint, the unnamed trustee called him on the phone and told him he had unprotected sex with the woman. In the complaint, he says he recorded some of their conversation. According to both complaints, the woman says when she told the mayor about the incident, the mayor said if this information became public, she'd be ruined. All the work she'd done would be lost. The ex-employee says the mayor told her she would take care of it and to trust her. Days later, according to her complaint, the woman was put on unpaid medical leave without her consent. She was later terminated.
So, just for clarity, there are 6 trustees in the village of Dalton. This is essentially their city council. And 4 of them are anti-Henyard. They're the ones who are fighting Henyard for the information and all this other stuff. And there are 2 who are pro-Henyard. They do whatever she say and vote whatever way she tells them to vote. Now, we know for a fact that the 4 anti-Henyard trustees did not go on the trip to Las Vegas.
Trustees Tammy Brown, Kiana Belcher, and Brittany Norwood did not go on that trip to Vegas. In a statement, Trustee Jason House says he did not go on that trip to Vegas.
So that only leaves these 2 male trustees. So one of these trustees is the unnamed trustee in this complaint. Now, our sources in Dalton say the unnamed trustee is Trustee Andrew Holmes. Now, Trustee Andrew Holmes was also a candidate for mayor who ran against Tiffany Henyard in the last election. Here is a news workup on his candidacy.
Dalton is a great place, but it's bad when you really don't know the inside.
Among them is Andrew Holmes. Known by many as a community activist and victims advocate, Holmes is now running for mayor of Dalton.
And you say, welcome to Dalton? What are you really welcoming them into Dalton for? Let's take a look inside of Dalton and see what's really going on. Where you getting the water from? If it's on this end over here, now you got to run across the street to the Chicago side and get their water. It shouldn't have to be like that. We got to adjust what we got to do to save some lives. And this is what it's about, saving some lives. Because if it's a liability risk and it's a lawsuit, guess who's paying? Taxpayers, and they shouldn't have to.
Okay, so let's understand what we're hearing about this alleged assault. We have a young woman who goes on this Las Vegas trip with her boss. She has dinner with one of the trustees. Then all of a sudden she passes out and wakes up the next morning in his hotel room with pain. Then the trustee then goes and essentially confesses to a police officer who's also on the trip, who's part of the Henyard protection detail. And this officer then records part of the conversation. This woman, after finding out what the trustee says, goes to the hospital and says, hey, this happened to me. I need some help, some medical assistance. So we got medical records, recorded phone calls, and it seems like a confession from whoever did this. This is really, really damning. Now, I know your first question is going to be, hold on, Nate, why are we talking about the Illinois Department of Human Rights? What does that have to do with anything?
She filed this complaint with the Department of Human Rights.
If this is non-consensual sex based on someone getting drugged, then why aren't we in criminal court with the district attorney, and why aren't there any charges? Now, first things first is, where did the alleged crime happen? Now, remember, all of these are allegations, so we don't know if any of this is true or not, but it has been alleged. So these alleged crimes are alleged to have happened in Las Vegas, Nevada, meaning that the district attorney in Las Vegas, Nevada would have jurisdiction to prosecute these crimes. Now, Tiffany Henyard, her assistant, and the alleged perpetrator, one of the trustees, all live and reside in Dalton. Matter of fact, they're probably in Dalton, Illinois right now. That's a totally different state. So the law enforcement officials in the state of Illinois does not have the authority to prosecute crimes that happened in Nevada. So this filing isn't a criminal filing, but essentially a civil filing. Now, the state of Illinois has the Human Rights Act, which prohibits discrimination, harassment, sexual harassment, and retaliation against individuals in connection with their employment. That's what both this law enforcement officer, the police officer who reported it, and the aide to Tiffany Henyard are filing a complaint with this Human Rights Commission. And that's because they feel that because they were employed by the city of Dalton and this aide was essentially sexually assaulted, which falls under the category of sexual harassment, she was fired in connection with that. And this act prevents that, even though it occurred in a different jurisdiction. So in this particular case, if the alleged victim wants to have law enforcement investigate these particular claims of essentially the R word, then she would have to file a report with the local police in Las Vegas where the incident occurred and speak to the district attorney's office there in that particular county. Now, if they find that there is a serious allegation and there's probable cause to make an arrest, they could file an indictment there locally in Las Vegas, Nevada, and then have whoever the suspect is actually extradited from the state that they reside in into Las Vegas. Now, to be fair to both sides, here is Tiffany A. Henyard and her administration's response to these allegations.
The Village, in a statement, told NBC5 it conducted a thorough investigation into these allegations led by an independent third-party company. The statement goes on to say former police officer Miles was interviewed and denied knowing anything about these allegations, and the alleged victim refused to cooperate with our investigation. The statement continues, this is nothing more than two disgruntled Village employees trying to make off with the taxpayers' hard-earned dollars. The Village looks forward to defending these allegations and pursuing all other available remedies to the Village.
So the Village's statement is that the woman is a liar, and the police officer who was on Henyard's detail protecting her is also lying, and that they didn't cooperate with the investigation. I would like to see, because if there are recordings of the conversations between the Village trustee and the officer about this alleged incident, then that would be pretty damning. But it seems like everyone has dug into their position, and the only thing that's going to convince me either way is evidence, because even though I personally don't like Tiffany Henyard and I personally believe that they are doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff, I still need evidence to condemn anyone. And right now we do have someone saying they have evidence, someone saying something happened, and on the other side we have them saying that it didn't happen and there is no evidence. So right now the only thing that will break the tie is evidence. But it's not about me, it's about you. How do you feel about this story? Who do you believe? Do you believe Tiffany Henyard's assistant and the cop who still works for the Village? Or do you believe Tiffany Henyard and her associates? Let me know in the comments section. And my name is Nate the Lawyer, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.